All right, guys, welcome to tonight's stream with your host, the one and only Josh Lau. I know a lot of you guys watch the VODs for the stream. You can't tune in live, and that's totally fine. But I'd like to tell you guys very briefly what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be learning how to learn. And what I mean by that is people often ask me for deck lists and they'll ask me for, specific sideboard cards that they think they ask it, is this good? Is this good? What do I think about this card? And when you get like 10, 15 messages a week, okay, I can deal with it. But we're at the point now where I have a lot of people, many dozens of people, messaging me about every single warrior in the format. And I'm going to basically take today to teach you guys how to evaluate cards in Warrior and how to basically tune a Dorinthia deck to the meta. And now that RTN has been going on for a week, we now have some data. So I will point out several cards that are good in different circumstances. And I'm going to go much, much deeper than, Herder at Oasis against Kano, because that is very obvious. So we're going to be going through basically every hero in the game, and I'm going to be talking about what sideboard cards are good for them, and basically teach you how to build a Dorinthia deck. We'll have a core, and then we'll have like 50 sideboard cards, and you make your own deck, basically, okay? Yeah. Okay. So, I guess we'll kind of wait for people to filter in here. I guess we'll play another little game of a mail day. Okay. All right. We got this time. There was no mail, but I just want to show you some cards that I picked up that I'm happy about. Okay. First of all, I went to an RTN and got top 8. And I opened I was randomly given a Victor, and I was like, I don't want that. Somebody trade me. And Jeremy, shout out to you, traded me Victor for Olympia. So now I got an Olympia. And I do plan on playing him during an RTN sometime. We have the Dynasty Gold in Rainbow Foil. I think the Heavy Hitters Gold looks kind of weird, so I prefer to use this one here. Yesterday at the LGS, I got a Rainbow Foil Galea. So those of you who have been watching a long time know that I prefer to use Rainbow Foil normal frames for everything. So I'm very, very happy to get this. And shout out to the LGS in Gear Gaming. We had a new player show up at the LGS. We were going to play CC. We were going to play Draft, and we're like, oh, we got a new player. You know what? Let's go get the Heavy Hitters precons, and let's just try it out, right? So I'm like, sure, okay, give me the Olympia precon. Let me see how LSS built Olympia. And I have to say, I thought the precons actually played very, very well. They were very well designed. They were very well balanced. That they basically played like very good draft decks. You could sort of think of it that way. And that kind of like, I was like, okay, so this is kind of how I'm supposed to like draft these heroes, right? So very happy about that. And yeah, the store, we were like, okay, there's 6 of us. We'll all take different blitz decks, and then we'll just get these like as a kind of like a bonus, basically. Then shout out to Quack. I don't know if you're here. We got our Grains of Blood Spill. Extremely important card in every single warrior. I got a copy of Shift the Tide of Battle. I'm not super high on this card, and people have asked me why I'm not including it in a lot of my lists, and the reason is that this card takes a long it's very narrow, and it takes time uh for you to get value from it, and it forces you to play two hands in a row in a particular manner. And for those of you who play warrior enough, you know that if you're a mid-range deck, you don't want to have to do that. I got a rainbow foil reinforce the line. I think I have like one or two, and this will be like my second or third copy, so it's mainly for Bolton. And then finally, one of the most important tech cards for Warrior, blue. Well, I guess it only comes in blue. Hold the line. This card, very, very, very important for... Well, let me put it this way. After Glint the Quicksilver, the quality of Warrior Blues drops off a cliff. So you could put cards like Hold the Line into your deck without much opportunity cost. So that's, a little bit of mail day there. What are these other cards here? Ah, yes. At the pre-release, they give you like a packet, right? And then it has like the rainbow foils, the gold, and the agility, might, vigor, and all that. So yeah. So I've got my deck mostly foiled out, and I need a couple more cards for Olympia. I didn't quite get them yet, but guess I have to order those soon. In fact, I'll probably be going to the Magnolia Gaming website to look up and try to buy some cards there. One of the sponsors of the Card Guys. Hint, hint. All right. Let's see. Let's take a look at the chat, and we will get going. We got, we almost got 50 people already. That's pretty good. Let's go, Josh. Hi, Justin. What's up? It's about time, Josh. You're back on your first love on that gold guy. I like Olympia a lot. I won't lie. I'm innocent this time. Well, there were like 50 people that were not innocent. Boo Victor. I agree. I don't like Victor. Guardians. Yeah. Yay, sparkly cardboard. Yeah. I have to say, like, I have a couple gold foils, and I'm like, okay, I could see the appeal of like the highest rarity thing, but I kind of just like everything to be kind of the same. And rainbow foil is like the easiest way to like show your dedication to something and still maintain like kind of a uniform look to it. So yep. What are the benefits of playing Olympia over Kasai or Dori? Both seem to be doing better things generally. So Olympia is a deck that is very subtle. If you're playing against Olympia, and if you watch some of the streams from a couple weeks ago, you'll notice that there's a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then, why am I ahead by like 10 life? Well, that's because Olympia can get very, very good value out of Valiant Dynamos. Now you will say, oh, Josh, you could get great value out of Valiant Dynamos with Kasai. That is true. However, the axes are more powerful than the swords, mainly because 2 plus 3 is bigger than 2 plus 2, as we all learned in kindergarten. As for Olympia over Dori, they are very, very different heroes. Dorinthia has a very stable matchup spread, which, in my opinion, makes her more suited for RTNs and PQs. This is something that those of my teammates know this, and people that I talk to quite a bit know this. In general, I play Dori at RTN and PQ, and I play Bolton at the Pro Tour and the World Championship. And why is that? Well, Dorinthia basically says, if you do not know what I am capable of, you will never win a game against me. If you don't know that Blade Flurry is a card, and you don't know the exact text of Blade Flurry, your chance of winning the game is below 10%. If you don't know that Twitting Blade is a card, the chance of you winning is below 10%, etc. Right? And at RTN level, there will be a massive skill gap between myself and some of the RTN competitors. Also, Dorinthia has a very, very stable matchup spread. If I get paired into a bad matchup, like Dromai, Dorinthia has a fighting chance against that. Whereas Bolton, Olympia, and especially Kasai just roll over to Dromai. They don't put enough pressure on, and they can't clear enough dragons. And actually, funnily enough, I think Olympia is probably the second best warrior against Dromai, but that's we'll look at the stats in a little bit. I have the window open. All right. Shift has only been good for me in the brute matchups where they'd rather Blood Rush Bellow than block. Shift the Tide of Battle is a glint that is worse in that it doesn't draw a card. It's a blue. It's a yellow instead of a blue. It has a stipulation that the attack has to be higher than its base. That's not easy. Okay. In addition to that, you get blown out by a D-React. And you probably need another pump. So this means in order to use Shift the Tide of Battle, you need like a 5-card hand. A 5-card hand that doesn't have Go Again is very rare in Warrior. So if you've played enough with that card, you just realize like this doesn't feel good to draw at this time. So yeah. That's why I'm not on it. How are you, Josh? How was your RTNs this weekend? I did okay at the RTNs. I went to a draft one in Jasper, and 3-0'd my first pod with KO. I went 1-2 with Kasai, and then I lost in the quarterfinals with Betsy. So I drafted all 3 classes. Kind of, I didn't have much experience with the set. Kind of just going to, see how I can do. And overall, I think it was all right. Sucks that I didn't qualify for Nats, but I think even if I didn't go to any more RTNs, I'd still get an invite through ELO, so it's okay. I was expecting Josh to say the gold. Well, the gold is useful for Olympia, obviously. But Olympia is really a numbers game where you just get more numbers over a 15-turn game than most heroes do. You also utilize Grains of Blood Spill better than most heroes. Interesting. I feel like I've had incredible results from Shift in my Kasai list. Kasai may be the exception to that, but I still would not be running 3 shifts. I got second drafted KO 3 times in a row. Yeah, that's probably the way to go. I kind of just wanted to sample everything a little bit. You know what is actually interesting now that I'm thinking about it a bit more? The best way to prepare for draft is actually to look at the heavy hitters precons. Because like I said, they are basically good draft decks. The heavy hitters precons do not have cards outside of heavy hitters. So yeah. That was quite eye-opening. I was like, okay, yeah, these all feel like good draft decks. It's kind of interesting to me that Olympia runs more attacks than Warriors normally do. That is one way to build Olympia. That is not the way that I have built my Olympia deck. Yeah, I have Shift as a one of. Sure, as a one of. Why not? Keep them on their toes. All right. Well, we've spent the 15 minutes chatting with you guys. All right, let's dive into a few things here. Let's see, where should we start? Why don't we start here? All right, guys. This is the Faberate meta results for Talishar. All right. Up here, I got the 4 warriors here. And let's see here. Let's scroll over. This is one of those situations where I wish I had a, you know how like there's a scroll wheel in the middle, but some mice have a scroll wheel on the side to go left and right. I used to have one of those, but I don't have one right now. I can't do the Excel accounting scroll easily. All right, so these are the 4 warriors here, and surprise, surprise, 3 of them are above 50% now, which is actually quite impressive. Olympia, I don't actually think is this bad. I think people are building him wrong, and that's why his win rate is low. As for the others, I have gotten a lot of questions about Kasai. A lot. I'd say half the questions I get are about Kasai, and 30% are about Dorinthia, and 20% are about Bolton. And I haven't gotten an Olympia question in quite a while. People seem to have forgotten him and moved on, unfortunately. But Kasai is basically the warrior that's stealing the spotlight right now. And I'll be frank, I don't think she's the best warrior. I don't think she's even the second best warrior. And that might be controversial, but let me explain why. Kasai has abysmal matchups into certain heroes, and they can't be fixed with sideboarding. Number 1. Okay, let's you know what? We're gonna bring out our online notepad. Okay, so we'll talk about all this later. We'll talk about this later, okay? Why Josh Lau thinks Kasai isn't very good. 1, has several bad matchups. What am I talking about? Dromai, Kano, Riptide. Assassin is probably bad too, depending on the matchup. And what else is quite bad? You're pretty bad against Dori. And you probably lose most of your... I'm not sure about Victor, actually, but if I had to guess... Let's see. So Victor has a lot of attack actions, so maybe it's actually okay. Looks like it's just 50-50, right? So that's not very good. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, I just know, like, I didn't even like really look at these specifically yet, but I just know Kasai versus Dromai is bad. I know Kasai versus Kato is bad. I know Kasai against Riptide is bad. Looks like Kasai against Viscerai is also pretty bad, but I don't think you're going to see much Viscerai. Okay. Also, Kasai against Azalea, I think, is also bad. Okay? So, why is it bad against Dromai? Okay? Why is Kasai bad against Dromai? 3 poppers. Rarely runs Remembrance. No pressure to Dromai's face. Has issues clearing higher health dragons. Doesn't have bolters for emerge, like, Doesn't have bolters when she doesn't have go again. Dromai has a lot of non-attack actions. Tol Multi can destroy dynamos. Okay? Is that enough? Do I need to add more? Okay, versus Kato. Why is he bad against Kato? Okay. 0 pressure. No disruption. Kano has all non-attack actions. I mean, you can throw in Oasis, you can throw in a couple AB, but good Kanos are just going to chip you down. So, like, AB Oasis doesn't solve much, mainly because she has no pressure, right? No access to Spell Void. That's another big one. What else? That good point there. Yeah, has red yellow based deck doesn't want to pitch for AB. That's very good there. Yep. Give me 5 more points in the Dromai matchup and I'll be convinced. I see we're getting to see Josh unhinged tonight. I love it. Well, Josh is just. I've been hearing too much slander against Dorinthia and Bolton. Let's just put it that way. Okay. I think this basically sums it up. Is there any other? Let's see. Okay. Yep. That covers most of it. Okay. Riptide. Okay. This is not a common matchup, but experienced warrior players know that Riptide is deadly against warriors. Why? All of our stuff tends to have higher than base power, and our stuff tends to have go again. And we like attack reactions. You put all those 3 things together, and we basically trigger everything in Riptide's whole arsenal. Right? Okay, so against Riptide, Sabers can be triggered by Riptide himself. So he can block with an arrow, make it go up, and then that turns on all his traps. Kasai has go again quite often. Triggers traps. Kasai in the current build, Kasai cannot fatigue Riptide. No access to Shunt, Oasis in general. What else? I mean, it mainly just comes down to the fact that you trigger every one of the traps, right? So basically, you start at 20. Okay. Next. Let me think about Azuri a bit, because this is one that I was like not 100% sure about. So looks like Prism's not a good matchup either. Yeah, I might as well add Prism there too. I don't think Prism is a good matchup for Kasai. Okay, looks like Kasai is doing fine against Azuri. I for some reason I think this might be. I guess there are some very, very defensive builds of Kasai, and those are doing fine, right? let's add Prism instead of Missouri. All right. All right. You only run Nourishing. Which means Halo of Illumination break into Figment of Triumph means you aren't popping anything. Armor Suite doesn't last very long versus Herald aggro. I mean, obviously resetting the dynamos does help, but it's not enough. Not fast enough to pressure Prism's life. What else? Oh, you also this is another thing about warriors against Prism. You can get ALS looped. Kasai can get out of it in a very specific way, but I'm just still gonna put it down. Can get ALS looped, so she can get out of the ALS loop by having an agility token, nourishing into Saber, something like that will be fine. Some hands can't clear. Well, I guess that's not a huge issue because you'll generally go for face, and then that will pop the angel in general, right? So I'm not gonna put that there. Okay. Against Dori. Okay. I'll be frank. This matchup should be very, very close, but I think Dori should win a majority of the time. The health totals should be very close, but I think Dorinthe should win in a long enough game. Obviously, Dori has no attack actions. Okay. Now, this one is tricky because if you play this matchup wrong, it's actually Kasai favored. Very similar to how if you played Dori versus Bolton wrong, it was Bolton favored, right? Because Kasai has dynamos and Dori does not. Dori does not want to attack with 2 cards, doesn't want to defend with 2 cards and attack with 2 cards because that's falling into Kasai's trap. When Dori attacks Kasai, it needs to count. It needs to break through. And the reason why you can break through as Dori against Kasai is Kasai has no shunts, generally. So, as a Dorinthia, I know 2 things generally when I play against Kasai. 1, all my punctures are live, which means singing Steelblade into puncture will break through their defense because it's +5. I know that Yellow Overpower will get there. I know singing into Biting Blade will get there. I know Red Overpower, Yellow Overpower will get there. Fatal Engagement will get there. So, yeah. What else? I mean, Nourishing Emptiness doesn't do jack shit against Dori generally. Dori can also run so Dori has a flexible head slot. She can actually run Balance of Justice or Crown. Some lists will include 2. So you can actually that tips the matchup in Dori's favor as well. What else? Hold the Line is not uncommon in Dori lists. Yep. Yeah. Finally, Azalea. Zero pressure on Azalea to block. No access to shunt. No on hits. Disruption from Kasai. What else? All right, let's read the chat here. Kano can't beat Kasai ever. Stop trolling, Justin. You could fatigue Riptide, no? I don't think you could fatigue Riptide without Shunt and Oasis. Especially when all your traps trigger. All your attacks trigger traps. I love Warriors, and Kasai is thematically my favorite, but I don't see a reason to play her over Dori or Bolton. But let LSS cook. Fair. That is fair. Outside of armories, sure. These are not problems with the Warrior. Are these not problems with the Warrior class? Not specifically Kasai. That is not true. I'll talk about why. Dynamo, let's just answer that question now, BNet, instead of waiting. So Dromai is a problem for Bolton. I'm not going to lie. However, Bolton has a better shot at beating Dromai because you have the ability to combo. So if you can line things up quick enough before she finds Tomotai, you actually can win the game. You also have access to at least 6 poppers against Dromai, which is helpful. Yeah. So Bolton is not great into Dromai, but at least better than Kasai. Dorinthia right now, I think, is favored into Dromai. Or at least slightly favored. Maybe 55, 45, something like that. The new heavy hitters cards are a giant pain in the butt for Dromai. Dorinthia now has access to a lot of Go Again. Blade Flurry helps a ton. And, there's also some extra poppers that Dori can run if she wants to run them. And you basically, if you play that matchup correctly, you clear a dragon, poke Dromai's face. You just repeat that. Eventually you get to a place where you just have so many counters on the weapon. You draw the God Hand, and you can actually go after Dromai twice. And that's really, I've seen the blood drain from their face many times when it's like, the whole game I've been hitting a dragon, hitting them, hitting a dragon, hitting them. And then eventually I'm like, Warriors Valor, swing, target you. And they're like, oh shit. And then they look at their hand and they're like, 2 block, 2 block, 3 block, 2 block. Well, and I've already used my crown. If they have the crown, I've already used my, chest piece. And, they're just sad. Against Kano, Dorinthia has the ability to pressure Kano. So Kano can't just set up things without giving Dorinthia something back. If Kano wants to set up an E-Pot, normally that means Dorinthia gets a counter. Dorinthia also can put lethal on the stack and hide information. Dorinthia can run a higher blue count as well. So much, much less susceptible to Kano. Bolton has access to Spell Void, has access to Soulbound Resolve, has access to Banner of Protection, has access to Radiant Flow. You can build a Bolton deck so it never loses to Kano. By the way. Riptide, both Dori and Bolton can... If Riptide becomes a giant problem, both of them just add Decimator Great Axe to the sideboard, and you're fine. Because Dori has access to Shunt and Oasis. Bolton has access to Soul Shield, reinforce the line. They both have enough defensive tools to fatigue Riptide. Prism. Dori against the new Prism. Dori has just enough speed that when the armor of Dorinthia runs out, so does the Prism's health. And Bolton has 7 power poppers, so Prism, it's actually a giant pain in the ass for Prism to do things. Also, Prism has a ton of attack action cards or no blocks. She doesn't have non-attack action 3 blocks in her deck. So Bolton just cuts her up. Dori, well, obviously Dori versus Dori is balanced. Bolton versus Dori, also relatively balanced. Probably still in Dori's favor, though. And as for Azalea, same thing with Riptide. Having access to pressure plus defense wins that matchup. Okay, moving on. Dynamos are insane. That is true. Half of my Dori versus Kasai games go to fatigue with Kasai losing. Sure, I can see it. Josh, I started playing Bolton. It's awesome. My only thing is that I get these hands turn 1 that are like Lumina V, Beacon, going second. How do I play that? I'm like, okay, I'll not block. If you're going... So, on turn 0, you generally block. I'm assuming you're talking about like combo Bolton. In that case, you set the Lumina into the arsenal, and you just play out the V. Charging the Beacon would be fine. Don't get too attached to Beacon. Hey, don't be spreading my secrets to win against warriors as Prism. Wow, I'm sorry. Fatal doesn't get there, but yeah, he was cooking, chef. Yeah. I swear I'm the only Kasai player out here who isn't very fond of nourishing in the list. You know, Brad, that's a very interesting point. And that's something I've been thinking about as well. I'm like, why are we running nourishing? Like, that's not above rate. The whole point of Kasai is to abuse dynamos. If you go Saber, Blade Runner, Saber, heal 1, that's 2 plus 5, that's 7, plus the dynamos is 8. Okay, so 2 card 8. That's pretty good, right? That's what a Wounded Bull was, right? You pitch a blue Wounded Bull. That was 2 card 8. Or you pitch Heart of Fendel, attack with Fendel's Fighting Spirit. That's 2 card 9 potentially, right? So if you're attacking with Nourishing Emptiness, you're saying, okay, I'm going to get 6 value or 9 value. And your opponent has the opportunity to shut it down. Even if you land Nourishing Emptiness with the on hit, at best it's a 2 card 9. I guess that's fine. But I think you could actually do fine by running just 1 or 2 nourishings. I don't know if you need to actually run 3. Okay, but all these decks are fringe. Dromai, Kano, Azalea are not fringe. Prism and Dori are also upcoming. Yeah, Bolton is the best into Kano for sure. That is correct. Spell Void is good. That is true. Yeah, Bolton is not fun to face. That is correct. What to do in Warrior versus Guardian matchup? That is a very, very general question, but in general, you need to be patient. Yes, I keep Nourishing in mind as a one-of just to get the fridge out of the way, but I'm much more fond of utilizing E-Strike off an agility token. Exactly, yeah. E-Strike draw card is one of the strongest things you can do. And I'm actually surprised that more warriors aren't utilizing the agility token to E-Strike draw card. Especially as Kasai, that turns all your weapons on. So that becomes a 2 card 5 damage from E-Strike, 2 from Saber, and you drew a card. That's 10 value. off 2 cards. Okay, getting back to ranting. Okay. Well, I guess this is actually the end of my rant. I have talked about why I think Kasai is not very good. Okay. Let's go back to here. So, if you want to play Kasai and you like the dual wield version of Kasai, Hatchet's Olympia has more value because hatchets hit harder than sabers. If you like the explosiveness and combo potential of Cash In, Blood on Her Hands, Raise an Army, Lumina Ascension, Beacon of Victory, and Oath of Steel do that better, faster, harder, stronger, whatever the lyrics to that song was. Bolton can combo off on turn 2 or 3 and just win the game. Kasai has to take a very, very long time to set it up. Bolton also has the ability to switch into multiple different decks. I forgot to write the most important thing here. 1, it has several bad matchups. All this is true. Then 2, the decks are boring and predictable. Right now, I could name 70 out of the 80 cards in most Kasai lists because she has to be built in a particular way. This predictability is the worst thing for a warrior. This is the reason why Decimator Dori is so strong. This is the reason Hatchet's Dori is so strong. This is why Hot Streak Saber Dori is so strong. Because your opponent has to assume you could be playing Dawnblade. This is why Combo Bolton is strong. This is why Raiden Bolton is strong. This is why Hatchets and Decimator Bolton are also acceptable decks. Because your opponent has to assume you're building something. There is no situation where a competitive Jubil Kasai is going to show its face. There's no situation where Hatchet's Kasai is going to show its face. It's a blue-based Kasai is not going to show its face, right? Because of the hero ability, because of the specializations, because of the weapons. She has to be built in a particular way. And that means she can be targeted. That's very bad. Okay, has bad matchups. Boring and predictable. Boring is not a bad thing. I shouldn't. The boring is not the right word. The decks are linear. Okay, they're linear. Okay, and predictable. Okay. Okay. Let me think if I could come up with a third reason I think Kasai is not good. Bad matchups, linear deck. Here we go. This is important. No ability to outplay their opponent. Generally, as a warrior, you have access to attack reactions. You have access to a varied attack pattern. Kasai doesn't do any of that. She might throw an attack reaction here and there. Most of them are running like 6 attack reactions. Maybe she throws out, a nourishing emptiness here and there. But she's never going to be as tricky as Bolton or Dorinthia. And yeah. There's a better way to express this thought in writing here. I'm trying to think of a better way to put it. But maybe you guys in chat can help me here. Let's see. Victor seems like Dori's worst matchup because he can just easily overblock everything and win every clash. I mean, Victor is good. He has the base of a Guardian. Obviously, he's very, very strong, especially against decks that have very few attack actions. But like Dumb Baby said, Victor will miss on clashes, so that will happen. Daft Punk, yeah, exactly, yep. It's kind of too consistent in that she presents the same thing every turn. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Too consistent. Too consistently average. Maybe that's the way. No ability to outplay or high roll their opponent. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Okay. Yeah, not enough spikes. That's a good way to put it. Like a spiky Kasai turn doesn't really. It's just damage. Kasai has an unpredictable payoff. It is not guaranteed in a game. Raise an army and blood on her hands, neither guaranteed. Yep, that's true. Opponent doesn't have to question if you have it in Kasai generally. That is also true. If Olympia is better than Kasai, why do you think he hasn't seen? Why do you think he hasn't seen the same success? I'm not saying Olympia is better than Kasai. I'm saying Olympia does the value thing arguably better than Kasai. Also, the reason why I talked about this earlier, why I think Olympia's win rate is low, people are building him wrong. Whereas it's hard to build Kasai wrong. And there was a quicker consolidation by people in Kasai. People were like, yeah, these cards are good. Let's run them. And that happened really, really, really quickly. So, okay. People are building him wrong. Yeah, see, yeah. Joshua gets it. Yep. Joshua Barlett, you get it. Okay. I think this is done. Go ahead and screenshot this. This is my when if people ask me questions, I'm just going to show them this. Okay. Because I've gotten a lot of questions why. Because I've hinted that I think Kasai is not that great, and people. Here's why. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's get to the main topic of today, which is learning how to learn or learning how to sideboard without Daddy Josh there to guide you. I get a lot of questions about, hey, this hero's in my meta. How do I account for that? How do I adapt to that? Let's go through that. Okay. So we're going to use this list as the base here. So this is the Ironsong Flurry deck that I wrote a sideboard guide for. If you guys want the sideboard guide, that is available at Patreon, the TheCardGuyz Patreon. That should be a link in the description. But basically, I talked about and wrote about this list. I wrote about, I think, 13 or 14 of the matchups. And I talked about how to sideboard this, right? And something you'll notice about Dorinthia sideboards is that they tend to be quite large. I know everybody has their own way of like sideboarding. So how I like to do that is I have a main deck where I run this configuration of 51 cards into everything. And then I add cards from the sideboard. And you'll notice that in Dorinthia, generally the main deck is like 45 to 50. With Bolton, it's like 50 to 55. So basically, Dori has a lot more of these, cute tech cards, right? Because ultimately, it comes down to one question. Does your opponent block or not? Step 2, does your opponent have D-reacts or not? Step 3, do they have armor or not? And then we have, fringe cases like, do we need poppers? Do we need D-reacts? Stuff like that, right? And the answer to all those questions basically tells us that, right? Okay. So, sideboarding as Dori. Okay. 1. Does my opponent's hero like to block? Yes or no? Or sort of. 2. Do they run D-Rex? How much armor do they have? And other considerations like poppers, pummel, arcane damage, right? Okay. I guess another thing that's very important is game length. Certain cards are better in longer games. Yeah. Okay. So when I'm sideboarding as Dori or building a sideboard or considering cards for the sideboard of a Dori deck, these are things that I'm thinking about. Okay. So I'm gonna post the link to the here you go. All right. So this is a very, very good base for a Dorinthia deck. And there are a lot of very particular ratios and inclusions here for a general metagame. Okay? I'm going to teach you guys how to adjust this for a particular metagame as well as the level of your opponents, because that's actually another thing. The stronger your opponent is, the more tricks you need. Okay. Weaker opponents can be beaten by a very straightforward, simple strategy. Okay. If your opponent is strong, you need more tricks and silver bullets. And there's just less people building and playing Olympia 2. Yep, that is correct. Why is Kasai's win rate so high on the data? I think part of it is people have very bad analysis of threat. And I think a lot of people are letting Kasai execute her game plan. Her game plan is very straightforward. She wants to attack with her swords, generate copper and gold, and refresh dynamos. That's all she wants to do. So I think a lot of people are not using their D-Reacts and their armor correctly against Kasai, and they aren't implementing the correct counter strategy in general. They might be extending the game too long. Yeah. I also think that Kasai does pretty decently against the new heroes, which a lot of the meta is the new heroes. If we start Kasai also, I think, overall does pretty well against Bravo. That is like the one thing that Kasai has going for her is she's pretty good against Bravo. Yeah, as you can see here, yeah, it's pretty good win rate. Dorinthia has to work very, very, very hard to win against Bravo. And Olympia, surprisingly, his win rate against Bravo is actually higher than his base win rate. So yeah. So one way to look at it is look at the delta here, right? So Bolton in here is +9, +3 for Olympia, +7 for Kasai, and -3 for Dori, right? So we take their overall win rate minus their matchup win rate, right? So Bolton and Kasai do better against Bravo. Now here's the thing. I think for Bolton, there's actually a large threat about getting fatigued by Bravo if you're playing Raiden. There's a pretty, especially if you bring in too many defensive cards, that can get very, very tricky. Whereas Kasai can't really be fatigued by Bravo. So that's one thing that she does have going for her. But outside of that matchup, the other S tier decks like Dromai and Azalea, which I consider pretty high up there, she has trouble with them. Okay. How does Kasai break ALS loop again? So you have to have. No, the go again doesn't work. Yeah, you're right. You need a time snap potion to break out of it, actually. Yeah, agility doesn't cut it because you lose your go again. Maybe, okay, Kasai actually can't break out of the ALS loop. It's definitely interesting to talk about comparative advantage and how many turns does Kasai effectively have no hero text versus, say, Olympia or Dori. So that's actually very interesting. I've played Olympia versus Kasai, Dori versus Kasai. There are games that end where she has no copper, no gold. And part of that is because Kasai decks don't have enough attack reactions. Because after Blade Flurry and Iron Song response, they all start costing resources. And for a deck that has yellow and blue, or red and yellow, she doesn't want to play. That's another thing to add. Not enough attack reactions. Only Blade, Flurry, Iron Song response. I guess she does have In the Swing. Can't easily pay for one cost reactions. Actually, I think if you run Blade Flurry, Iron Song response In the Swing, that's actually just barely enough. If you run like 8, I think that's okay. It's not actually that bad. Okay. Rose said Teddy Josh. Oh man. Okay. Why don't you ever play Outland Skirmish over Sharpened Steel? Outland Skirmish says target one hand weapon. Sharpened Steel says your next weapon attack. Kind of surprised that no Iron Song versus. I've been loving it. There is an Iron Song. Oh, Iron Song versus. Oh, there's just not enough slots for it. Iron Song versus is fine. I prefer the bracers a little bit more. Don't get me wrong. Iron Song versus has a deep place in my heart. I play KO. I don't have D-Reacts. Well, sad day for you. That's why Kasai keeps running you over. Dual wielding Dori has a much better matchup into Bravo than Dawnblade. That is probably true. And you have to side to time snaps to get out of the ALS loop. Yes. I've been doing it for a while now with Warrior. It's a must-have. I'm on 15 red attack reacts in Streak Saber Dori. It's great. 9 zeros and 6 ones. Okay. So Blade Flurry, response, In the Swing, Puncture, and Out for Blood, I presume, are your 15 attack reacts. All right. Let's talk about how to improve or update this list based on basically we're going to make a maybe board, okay? All right, so all right, so let's start talking about. Let's go back to our notepad. Okay, so I talked about sideboarding as Dori. Let's start putting every hero in the game into categories, and we'll go from there, right? So, Reinar. Is there anything specific that we need for Reinhar? No, there's not. Think below is nice to have. Other than that, you can play a very straight up game against Reinhardt. We'll just do all the WTR heroes. Reinhardt, let's talk about Dori. So in the mirror, obviously you want your D-Reacts. You want Oasis if you have it, because it denies reprise. You want access to Epot in this matchup. You want access to Heart in this matchup because this is one way to get out of Shunt range. You want, what else? Specific cards in the mirror. I mean, you want the full you want the full suite of puncture, because there's quite a bit of armor. Valor, Warriors Valor yellow helps quite a bit in this matchup too, because the giving a pump plus threat of on hit go again to your first sword basically says you have to give me all your armor or I get reprise. And reprise is very, very important. Okay. Katsu. Again, Sync Fate will help here. And low cost attack reacts, because we can't keep 5-card hands. Okay. And Katsu's mainly about what you don't want in your deck. You don't want no blocks in your deck. Bravo. D-Reacts are nice against Bravo. Depending on how they're built, commanding performance, agile engagement, overpower, red. Biting Blade is also good. Full suite of puncture, also good. Yeah. Okay. Dash. There's nothing specific that you need against them. Large attack reacts are useful, because they have Sync Fate, Reinforce, and not overpower. Hold the line. Unmovable. Any other specific things you want against Dash? Heart is nice, because you'll often be lower life than Dash. Extra sources of go again. Like Valor is nice against Dash. Okay. Viscerai, there's nothing really specific against him. Yeah, that's a very, very standard matchup. AB, that's optional, I'd say. Kano, we'll leave that for last. Azalea. The reacts are nice. Commanding performance. And attack reacts don't get much benefit against Azalea because they're not blocking that much. Puncture doesn't get much value here. Warmongers is pretty good against Azalea. Oh, I forgot. Hold the line, balance of justice for Reinhardt. All right, I zoomed in here a little bit for you guys. Okay, let's see. Josh, you're understanding the value of gold. You're underestimating the value of gold in Kasai. Every gold is worth 3. 1 mana floating plus 2 free sword swings. Usually that means every gold is a free arsenal. Against certain decks, it's easier or harder to get gold. That's kind of the issue. No glistening. Is it a bad card? Seems to magnetize opponent's hands to block. Glistening is bad in the current metagame because you don't have to race anybody and there's very, very high armor. Hey, I always win versus my girlfriend playing Dori as Bolton. How does the normal turn by turn look to beat Raiden as Dori? Well, Dori, you basically are playing more defensive until you find a good hand. And if they've been sitting on an arsenal for a while, you kind of have to expect its soul shield. But Dori can actually pivot in the middle of the game to fatigue, which is pretty good. Agile engagement being a 2-block feels so bad against crush cards. That's correct. But guess what? You're not supposed to use your 2 blocks to defend crush attacks. In general, if you have like 5 2 blocks and like 2 to 3 no blocks, you're fine. AB1, let's go. Yeah, AB1 is currently how I have it built, but spoiler alert, probably going to change that. You need AB1 against Viserai. I disagree with that. I think if you are quick enough, you can just punch them in the face. There's no... The only thing that is AB1 is good against is turning off the Spellbound Creepers. If you don't use AB1 against the Viserai turtle build, you have a chance to lose. That is the reverse thinking. If they're a turtle Viserai build, you might as well have Balance of Justice or Crown of Providence because you need to kill them fast enough, right? Yeah, but what is Kasai doing with all those extra resources? Not a lot of attack reacts. So they have a ton of resources to do nothing but swing the 2 free swords anyways. That's something that I've also noticed as well. The new builds of Viserai is a Runeshant OTK deck. I've been playing with a version myself, and it's 12 to 15 D reacts with good armor and a lot of 3 blocks. I'd definitely bring in AB1, or you can just auto lose. Okay. I've noticed that there's a lot of discussion about Shunt, and there's none linked in that deck list. Yes. Shunt is a card that is meta dependent, and it's something you probably should include if you don't feel very, very comfortable with just Sync and Fate. Also, if you think there's a lot of... All right, we restarted things. You know, it seems like every single time at 9 o'clock, things just kind of fall apart. Sorry about that. Okay. Hopefully we're back now. No, it's not your internet. It is my internet. Hopefully things are back. I restarted the stream. It should be okay-ish now. All right, let's get back to talking about these matchups here. D-Rex, commanding performance. Warmonger's good against Azalea. And extra go again. Sources. Actually, that's not true. We don't really need extra go again sources against Azalea. Generally, it's not a complete race to the finish line. Kano. Let's see. Yeah, that was my router. Every single time at about 9 o'clock, I think something happens at 9 o'clock. I don't know what's going on, but okay. So Kano, there's very specific things we like. Epot is nice. Oasis is nice. Higher blue count is nice. Take it on the chin is nice. Tunic is nice against Kano. AB2 is nice to have against Kano. The third twinning is actually quite nice against Kano. Oftentimes, Kano, if they draw an E-Pod or a potion of Deja Vu, they'll just throw 9 and play out their potion. So third twinning, unconditional Gogan is nice against Kano. Okay, next, Monarch. There's only Levia and Bolton. Okay, Levia, very similar to Reinhardt. Sync, hold the line. Balance of Justice is nice. Bolton. There's not really anything in specific that's good against Bolton. I guess commanding performance and agile engagement. Okay, and that's all the heroes from Monarch. Tales of Aria, they've all rotated out. Everfest, Starvo rotated out. Okay, so then we have... What's the next set after that? Icelander, Phi, and Dramai. So Phi and Dramai. So Valor Yellow, good against Phi. Third twinning. Determination is actually pretty good against Phi in a weird way, because Phi will one of the ways you lose the game against Phi is you get some counters and you're racing, and then they decide to throw their whole hand down and remove counters and play from there. And if they've managed to have like a good Art of War turn or a good spreading flames is kind of old school, but you know, if the Phi has a couple good turns, you can actually fall behind on tempo. So that's good there. So as you can see, none of these heroes so far has really demanded anything specific other than Kano. Dramai here obviously demands specific things. So nourishing, down and dirty is nice. Command and conquer. What else is good against Dramai? Runner. Wage agility. Agile wind up. I mean, all colors are good again. I guess generally yellow and blue would be used. Energy base is go again. It's mostly go again. Core. Chorus of Iron Song is not bad against Drobai. Okay, so after Fi and Dromai, what heroes came after them? Vincent. I don't think there's anything in particular you need against Vincent. What else? You doing gameplay tonight? I do plan on doing gameplay tonight. Are you trying to stream snipe me, Justin? Is that what you're saying? What else? What other heroes came out recently? Oh, Arachne, yeah. Azuri and Arachne and Riptide, yeah. Okay. So Assassins is actually very all of these are actually very, very interesting because the Decimator Great Axe is like good against all of these. And Oasis is obviously very good. D-Reacts in general. And against Dromai, I forgot to put Remembrance. Yeah, Remembrance is pretty important against Dromai. If you really want to target Dromai, Remembrance is important. Tunic is important because you have to be able to speed up the game, and that's where your one cost pumps are going to come in. For Riptide, Tunic, I guess, is also important. Arachne, Azuri, Riptide, yeah. Okay. And then the new heroes, yeah, Prism 2.0 came out. Yeah, so Vincent and Prism are here. I guess I should, this is getting large, so I should just put them together. So seven power poppers, time snaps is nice. Chorus. Commanding performance and agile engagement are also very good. Armor fridge. You need sufficient armor against Prism to survive. Okay, and then we got the newest heroes. Man, a lot of these are. We got Dash, IO, Max, Teklo, Betsy, Victor, Kasai, Olympia, KO. There's a lot of heroes, guys. Holy crap. Okay. Uh-oh. The internet is doing the thing again. Oh boy. Well, looks like it's holding. Hold. Hold. All right. Let's see if we can do this. Okay. Ooh, we cannot. Okay, so we're all right. I tried to change the bitrate. Apparently, the OBS did not like that. Okay, we'll go back down to 3,000. Okay. So Dash. Nothing in really particular here. No, none of these heroes really need anything in particular other than the Guardians. You want, you know, think Fate is fine. In general, Mechanologists, Guardians, and Warriors and Brutes, they're all, you could attack them in the same way generally, with a little bit of let's see, this one. Chorus is good against KO. What else is good against KO? There's nothing else that's really jumping out. I have never played Dori versus Olympia. I I can't really think of anything that's particularly important. Kasai, Sink Below is important. Um, Large attack reacts. Yeah, Victor. There's not really anything. I mean, you could add some higher power cards in there, but I don't actually think that's realistically the best way to tackle him. Yeah, and as like I said for the mechs, I don't think there's anything specific. I mean, you could add in yeah, obviously these would be fine against these two. Shatter, I guess, against Teklo. Yeah. So this is basically it. Okay. So that's actually one of the reasons why Victor's difficult. There's not really anything specifically good against him, right? So uh commanding performance is pretty decent against him, yeah. Okay. All right. So now I've listed out all these things that are good. Let's go find some cards. Okay. So we're gonna edit this. All right. I'm gonna throw every card that I've ever considered into the maybe board. Okay. Uh, this card currently is not quite good enough. There's no reason to run Sword and Board at the moment. They have to give us an actual good a good one-handed sword to pair this with. Okay, so Centauri Saber, there's a whole archetype, and that's actually one of the ways to deal with Dromai is to pivot into. Well, I actually wouldn't use it for Dromai. I would against very defensive decks, you can pivot into a dual wield style as Dori. Very good against Bravo. So I'm going to put this in the maybe board. Courage of Bladehold probably still has a purpose in a very aggressive meta, so we'll put that in the maybe board. Decimator Great X is obviously very useful. Put that in the maybe board. Hatch's Dorinthia is a thing of itself. They're both fine. We'll put them in the maybe board. Hot Streak is the complement to the Centauri Saber. Jubil. I forgot about this card. Let's go back here. Jubil. Now, in Blitz, I ran Jubil against Kano. In CC, I don't know if this is really where you want to be. This would be good against like a poking deck, but I don't know. We'll add it to the maybe. Okay, none of these really make it. Valiant Dynamos, if you're going dual wield, you would put it. Okay. Agile Engagement, I already talked about how this is useful. It's in the sideboard. Red Agile Windup. This is a possibility if Prism becomes very popular. Biting Blade, I already talked about how much I like that card. It combines well with Singing. Blade Runner would be a maybe if you're a dual wield deck. You would probably include this as a sideboard card. Basically, if you're a dual wield plus a Dawnblade deck, you need some cards to support that, so that would be there. No. We're not clashing with Dori. Cleave has its narrow purpose if you're a hatchet story, so we'll put that there. Commanding performance, obviously, we've referenced that card many times. Cut the deck is not a good card, and you shouldn't run it. Dauntless, this is a card that. Okay, let's go back here. So in the old days, we would actually run Dauntless against Dash and Dori. Reason being, this would force Dash to have to pitch for Sync and Fate and have to pitch 4 for Unmovable, because Mechanologists don't have a class card. All right. Man, the just dropping frames. No. Okay. And Dori obviously was running Sync Fate and Shunt, and Dauntless obviously messes up all the math there. So Dauntless, we'll put that in the maybe board. Okay. Driving Blade, the blue, could see some play. Oh, man. Why is it dropping frames? Come on, stream. All right, we'll lower that a little bit, and hopefully that'll fix it a bit. Dustpath Pilgrimage. Now, this is a card that is actually sometimes this sees use. Let's put this in the maybe board. So against Dromai, you can attack an additional time. Very useful. Edge Ahead. This is a card that I quite like, and I've been playing with it more and more. This is just a good card. It's not for any specific matchup. Fatal Engagement. This can replace if Dash becomes popular. I guess Fatal Engagement would be good too. Let's add that here. So we'll add that to the maybe board. Felling Swing, if you're running Decimator Great Axe, like as a pure Decimator Great Axe, this is obviously played. Hit and Run Red, this is actually a really spicy card. This is a card that pairs very well with Twinning Blade, pairs very well with decks that make a lot of agility. And this is actually like one of the most deadly cards for if you like mixing up your attack pattern as Dori. This is like one of the best cards. All right. We got Hold'em, which is I think just not quite good enough. In the swing, if you're running a dual wield Dori deck, maybe. Iron Song Pride, I've talked about how this is a pretty good card before. We'll add that. Lead with Speed. Now, this is a... If you really need agility tokens, you could go with this. But I think currently in most Dori builds, there's no room for this. But if you're a dual wield deck, I could see it. The issue with this card is that it forces you to block an attack in a particular way. If you draw Lead with Speed, you basically have to keep this plus a card, which means every time you draw Lead with Speed, your hand is forced into a particular pattern. But that's fine. I think this is a maybe card. Oh, Nature's Path. This was good in a long time ago. Oath of Steel, no. Out for Blood is fine. And the sideboard. Outland Skirmish, no. Overpower Red is obviously fine. Plow Through Red. How did I forget Plow Through Red? This is a good card against Bravo. Good against Katsu. It's good against Dash. Any other ones that stand out? It's good against all these actually as well, because they have a lot of attack actions, right? I guess they do have some attack reactions, but I don't know if they have enough. Prism. That's real good against Prism as well. Less good actually because they have ALS that gives them a window to play ALS. But yeah, plow throughs obviously good against these. Plow through might be one of the first cards that's like actually good against Victor, guys. Um, well, no, he has a lot of block cards, so maybe not. But this card, plow through, really old school, but it is quite good. So we'll put it in the maybe board. Push forward red. Oh, I liked this card back in the day, but I don't think it's quite good enough now. Route, obviously good. I guess a second route is a card we need to talk about. Um, so in general, against decks that make you go first or you want to go first against, an extra route is actually quite nice. So against Dash, extra route is nice. Viserai, extra route is nice. Who else do we not want to go first? Yeah, Dromai. Like we don't want Dromai to go first. Max as well. We don't want them. Yeah, yeah. Against Tekla, I guess. Okay. Um, that's actually something that's I don't think enough people think about is that like cards that are good on turn 0, route, red overpower, energy potion. Yeah. Runner. We talked about how that's a sideboard card for Jubai. Slice and dice. Obviously played against certain decks when you have dual wield. Same with Spill Blood. Same with Shunt. Stroke of Foresight. If you really want a tutor target for Singing Steel Blood, you could include it. Take it on the chin can also be included. And then Wage Agility is a popper that sometimes you can just play out. Okay. Now we're at the yellows. Yellow Agile Windup. Good against Dromai. Course of Ironsong, I talked about how this is good against several decks in the format. Now that we're at the yellows, this will go much faster here. Glistening Steelblade. This, I mean, we have to put this here. Let's add this. Okay, so the only decks that I actually want Glistening Steelblade against. And Max and Dash. Basically all the matchups that they don't have D reacts and it's a race. That's pretty much it. There's like 3 matchups right now that I would want glistening in. In the past, we had Icelander, Phi, Lexi. So that's in the past, glistening was good. Now, not so much. Yellow hit and run, just like red hit and run. This gives you more mix ups. Quite nice. Yellow Iron Song Response. This card will always have a place in my heart. Yellow Overpower. I've talked about several times why that card is important to have in your main deck. I could see metagames where we would actually run a second Overpower, so I'll add it to the maybe board. Run through as a one of, I can see as fine. Shatter. If Fatigue Oldhim is a thing in LL, maybe we'll add it. Shift the Tide of Battle. I'm actually on 0 now, but I could see a world where you run one of this. Yellow Steel Blade Shunt. Now, this is actually important in certain matchups if you're playing with Tunic. If you're playing the red, you might as well play a yellow or two in general, or you could play some blues. So we'll add that. Twinning Blade. Sometimes you want to go for a third Twinning Blade, like I said. And Yellow Warrior's Valor, sometimes you want an 8th or 9th one. All right, for blues. I've seen some people running blue Agile Engagement. Generally, I like my blues to block 3. But this is a very powerful card. I might make an exception. Same with Agile Windup, except it's better on turn 0. So if the format is fast, this card's actually pretty good. All right. Driving Blade Blue. This was in my Nats list. Emboldened Blade. There will be some formats where you want 3 of these. Fatal Engagement Blue. I could see this as a one of, mainly as a tutor target that doesn't cost overpowered levels of resources. Goblet. Currently, I have that as a 2 of. I could see this being run as a 3 of in very, very aggressive metas. Also, this is good as a 3 of if you go first. So you have a higher chance to find it. So basically, if you need to high roll, you can include 3 copies of that. Iron Song Response Blue. This is sort of fallen out of favor because our blue base has basically become go again, but Blue Puncture. This is actually in the main deck as one of. It's just the one that's most likely to see some value from. This and Blue Out for Blood, I think, are fine. Blue Steelblade Shunt, I think, is probably one of the final cards here to talk about. If you want, you can include this in your energy base, and then you just have extra D-Rex. And yep, that's all. Okay, so this is all of the warrior cards now that I've added that could see play, right? I'm going to copy the list again for you guys in chat. Here you go. Oh, Shatter into Kasai. That's a good point. That's possible. Yeah, I can see it. I'm going to put a question mark because I'm not sure. Okay, let's talk about the generics here because that, I think, is the more interesting thing here. All right, so Skull Cap and Balance of Justice. So there is a world where in CC, I would actually register Skull Cap. In fact, in Blitz, there have been tournaments where I don't register Crown, I register Skull Cap. And that's when you know you can manipulate the life total very well, and you want 3 value out of your headpiece. And you know they don't draw cards. Not a lot of matchups where that's the case, but I wouldn't give up on this card completely. Balance of Justice, very similar to Crown. Basically, you're playing Crown or Balance of Justice. There are metas where this is better, so we'll put this in the maybe board. I don't know if Inertia's here, but I know he really Inertia really likes the Crown of Dominion, so that's a whole archetype. We'll put that in the maybe board. Tunic, we obviously have to include Tunic in the maybe board. Okay. Okay, so for Null Rune, all of these are actually possibilities. So we'll put them in the sideboard. How does this read again? Interestingly enough, Quell might actually be better against Kano than AB if the game is short. That's actually that's a very, very interesting. I don't think people have really thought about that before. Huh. Oh man, why is this stream lagging? Yeah, at 9 o'clock, I normally just have to like reset my router or something. I don't know, but well, hopefully things are still okay. All right. Vambrace of Determination. This was useful against Oldham a long time ago. We'll put that in the maybe board. All right. Now I guess the other question that we have to think about is the Spellfray stuff worth it? And I don't think so. Unfortunately, there's no Spellfray 2 except for the Light and Shadow Heroes. We also have Sheltered Cove, which is interesting, but having 3 extra resources is quite a bit of an ask. So, okay. All right. We're now at the generics here. So, Amnesia could be played. It would require a very specific metagame. That's so. This is a card that's quite good against Katsu. Is there any other heroes that are jumping out at you guys? Amnesia against Katsu. All right. Okay, none of these. Censor is actually Censor's an interesting card. This is possibly used against very, very predictable decks. I guess you could go like Dawnblade into Dawnblade, and then if they still aren't blocking, you can break your boots into Censor. We'll put it on the maybe board. Command and Conquer obviously has a place in the maybe board. Down and Dirty, very good card. Erase Face. This one is a, let's see. When this one and Amnesia, I keep forgetting which one's good against who. Hero cards and tokens lose and can't gain names. So yeah, that works against like all the Gust Wave stuff. Tokens lose their name. I don't know what that would be useful against, but I remember Erase Face was pretty good against like Dash because they would lose their way to boost. So so Erase Face was pretty good against them. I guess it would also be good against Max as well. And I guess it probably is good against Dash IO as well. Okay. Censor for Kano. Okay. Hi, Iron Song Life. You said just joining in. What are we working on here? We are working on Well, I'm teaching people about all the cards in the game that are acceptable in a Dori deck and which situations they're good in so people can construct a sideboard themselves. All right. Red Fendel's Fighting Spirit. Wait, okay, we're still up here. Yep. Yep. Red Fendel's Fighting Spirit, I think, is actually pretty important. In fact, I think this is probably going to be in my main deck, or not main deck, in my sideboard, because it 7 power popper, also gaining life. Very, very, very nice. Gore Belching. This one's acceptable because of a very cute combo. You can go Gore Belching into. So Gore Belching will find Rouse, and you'll get a 1-card 7, which is nice. There's a new version of this where it's money where your mouth is into nourishing. I think that one's also quite good. Humble, I can see this also being useful. Humble's quite good against decks that need. It's quite good against Bolton. Humble's good against Lavaya. Also good against Katsu. Andromai. And yeah. Yeah, Humble seems good against those heroes. Imperial Edict. No. Imperial Ledger. No. This should be what? Imperial Decree, right? That's a card, right? Or sorry, Imperial Warhorn. Okay. This is a silver bullet in that it's like item destruction for Dori, which doesn't exist. So this is in the maybe board. Lead the charge. This is one way to get out of the ALS loop. So I guess let's include that in the maybe board. Generally, I would not advise putting this in, but if the ALS loop becomes like the way to build Prism, then lead the charge would be useful. Life for Life. This is a very old school card, and I quite like it actually. This is a card that Dori's very good at manipulating the high life totals, and this allows you to go Dawnblade into Life for Life into Dawnblade, which is pretty nice. Money Where Your Mouth Is, like I said, combos well with this card here, Nourishing. Basically goes 9 Dominate on hit gold, on hit. +1 Intellect. Off of a blue as well. So Nourishing Emptiness had a problem because it couldn't be pumped very easily. Like Nimblism only affects 1-cost cards. Come to Fight would literally only pump Nourishing. Whereas Money Where Your Mouth Is the next attack. So this works for Dawnblade too. Oasis, obviously an important card. Sigil of Solace. If we get a wizard that isn't exponentially scaling, like Kano, Sigil actually might see some use. This card was very good at messing up Icelander's math. This card single-handedly won me games against Icelander because they don't expect you to gain life. And they're like, oh, you have AB1 and I see all your float. I could know if I could kill you. Nope, that's not the case. Snatch has a possibility in Dori. All right. Unmovable. There was a point where I played unmovable in Dori, and that was against Starvo. So never say never for this. Wage gold I could see being used in the future if we have more cards that say target warrior attack. So because it's universal. Wounded Bull was used in Chunkinthia. I don't know if you guys really remember Chunkinthia, but that was a card. All right, that's done with that. All right, let's power through these yellows here and get to the blues because that's actually the most important part here. Cash in, we'll move that to the maybe board. That's a possibility. Yellow's Feldendel's Fighting Spirit is a possibility. Hack to Reality. I could see this being useful against maybe, let's see, non-token aura. So this destroyed this would only destroy like stuff from like Tales of Aria that's like real. I guess it's maybe not so relevant. This is a very interesting card though, so I'll still put it in the maybe board. All right, running through all these yellows here. Yep, nothing too interesting here. Reinforce, or sorry, not reinforce. Remembrance. That is the interesting card. We got to put that in the side. Okay. I've used some of the talismans here and there, but overall, I don't think this is the right meta. That's all you got can be used. That's all you got is actually pretty good against some of these heroes here. Phi. Also good against Dromai. It's fine against. Well, no, it's not fine against Katsu. Most Katsus aren't doing that. It's actually decent against Dash. Pistol Dash. Decent against Dash IO. Because as the D reacts, sometimes you need to flash it in. It's also probably good against Kasai as well. So a very flexible card that definitely could see some play. All right, that's done with the yellows. Let's move on to the blues here. Okay, Blade Flash, reaction, go again. As a blue, very useful. Burdens of the Past. This was our spoiler card a long time ago. If for some reason the meta becomes really defensive, this can see use. Epot, very useful. Ivaphidia has been used with some weird builds, but I currently would not advocate for that. Blue Fendel's Fighting Spirit. This was used in Bravo, but that was in Bravo control decks. I wouldn't use it here. Hold the line. This one's important. Put the maybe board. Last ditch effort. Again, if the games go very long, back in the day when Oldhim was around, you would run 2 last ditch effort, and you would be able to have a last burst of damage. So We'll recognize that for the role that it had in the past. Blue Pummel. Command and Conquer with Tunic up. This is definitely... This is a Nixie special here. Pursuit of Knowledge also has seen usage. Browse the Ancients. I talked about that two-card combination. Snag. This card used to be very useful against Chain, and there could be a day when this card comes back. This round's on me. Blue, not attack, 3 block. It's good when you go first, as long as you put some pressure on them. Time Snap Potion, like I said, sometimes is useful. This is also the best replacement for Heart. And Warmonger's Diplomacy. Yep. Okay, there we go. We have done it. I have added every single card that I think could be used in Dori. Ripple Away. That's a good card. That's okay. I forgot about that one. This might be worth it against Dromai. This one's actually quite good against Dromai. It really messes with what they were thinking was going to happen, right? Because instead of getting an Ash, they get no Ash. Instead of getting 3 Ash Rings, they get 2 Ash Rings. Sure. Let's add it. Ripple Away. I guess is also good against Olympia, right? Good against Dromai. Okay, what we need to do, we need to do a search here for the higher rarity cards and take a look at them very closely. Because, especially if they're blue. Is there any blue super rares? There's only... No, there's not. Okay. Okay. We need to look here basically and see what... Because these are the generic blues that are at Majestic rarity, so they have a very, very specific use case, right? We talked about Birds of the Patch. That's fine. No, no. This is already in the deck, already in the deck. We added this, we added this. This is for Blitz only. Oh, Nasty Surprise. This is an interesting card. This one's actually pretty good against Assassin. It's good against Guardian. Nasty Surprise against... So who can make us discard? Reliably. I guess it's just Bravo right now, right? And does Betsy and Victor play CNC? I think they do, right? Let's see. We have our handy dandy fabric.gg going to tell us the answer to that. So Victor runs these. And yep, most decks do run CNC. How about Betsy? Oh, looks like okay. About half of decks. Okay, so both do. So Nasty Surprise would be good against Victor and Betsy. This card is actually very interesting. Yeah. And oh yeah, codex users, yeah. Codex users, codex users. Yeah. Codex users. Yep. Okay, so currently Azalea and what did I say? Azuri Arachne. Yep. Okay. Okay, Poison the Well. Currently, we don't have any hero that gains a ton of life, so thank God. And this doesn't even work against like Lumina because it only prevent one. So all this does is, I guess, prevents Sigil of Solace. So Ripple, we talked about it. Ripple, we talked about. Rouse, we talked about. Snag, we talked about. This round's on me, we talked about. Warmongers, we talked about. Okay, cool. All right, let's quickly look at the yellows here. Make sure we didn't forget anybody. No, we're not playing Art of War. We already talked about this. Fog Down. I don't see. I don't really see when this would be useful at the moment. I'm not even sure why LSS printed this, but it's there. Hack to Reality. I'm trying to. It says next attack, so it works with anything. So maybe Hack to Reality into Nourishing Emptiness, maybe. Oh, Poison the Wells for the Prism that gains life. Yeah. Wow. Seduce Secrets. I'm not sure why you would need this. We talked about this. Tenacity. I think it's better in Bolton. We talked about this. Tome of Fendel. Is this remotely useful for Dori? I don't think so. Twinning, we already talked about. Unified Decree. Maybe in a couple years, we'll see. All right, finally, we'll look at the one costs or one pitch. And I think we hit on most of these already. Yeah. Pay up. Oh, I guess this is the last card that we need to talk about. Standing Order. Very flexible card, but it's just below rate. So it's like, I don't know. Generally, as Dori, you don't put garbage into your arsenal, so I don't know when this would be that useful. Yeah. All right, let's catch up on some of the chat. I haven't looked at the chat for a while. Titanium Bubble, got to make it into the maybes. I don't know about that. Go bananas. When do I get to stream snipe? Oh man. You know, if you really want to play me, we can organize that. Ripple Away is good against Codex of Frailty. Interesting. I didn't think about that. So against Codex. Ah, yeah, you're right. That's very interesting. Good point. Huh. No ponder, no frailty, and is that good enough for losing a card? Ripple Away doesn't affect Dromai, only Rick the Yeah, correct. It only affects Rick the Embers. Good against Victor because of the Grindstone. Oh, Nasty Surprise is good. Yeah, good against Victor. Yep. Battering bolts can make us discard. That's true. Yeah. Okay. So we can put that against Azalea. Is Azalea really running battering bolt into us though? I thought that was like a Lexi sideboard card. I got well, we put it here anyways because of Codex. So, Tenacity is good armor meta. They're not ready for the Meeps Dorinthia. Meeps Dorinthia. Ripple eats every lace for Ranger. Oh. It's also bad into Codex because it's an attack action. Yeah, one of the ways that Dorinthia can isolate or insulate herself against Codex is by just not having attack actions. What do you think about Decimator on inventory for Guardian matchup? That's fine. You can put it there. I think if you want a double strategy deck, you should be running Dawnblade plus Hot Streak Saber. Battering doesn't hit Nasty Surprise. Okay. Can run 2 for Poppers. Okay. All right. So now that we have our base list, we have our sideboard, and we have pretty much, we have 99 cards. All right, we need to find a 100th card, guys. We cannot. This will bug me. Chat, help me here. Recommend a 100th card, and we'll add it. Okay. So now that we have all of these maybes, we can start constructing a sideboard. I'm going to build one that basically is good for RTN, but maybe not what you should bring to the Pro Tour. So that's kind of what I'll build here. Okay, so I guess we could make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so for reference, guys. Yep. Here's our maybe board. We have 99 cards in our maybe board. So, for those of you just joining us, welcome. This is every single card that I would potentially put in a Dorinthia deck. And I talked about why each card is here. There's a lot of cards here. In fact, if you are a Dorinthia veteran, you probably have seen a lot of these in a deck list at some time. Titanium Bubble again. Snatch, I think, is already here. Yep, Snatch is here. Stony Wootenhog. As much as I love Stony Wootenhog, man. Warmongers and +1 CNC. These are singletons. Everything in the maybe board is a singleton. Like we have one red agile wind up, one yellow, one blue agile wind up. Time Snap Potion is already in there. Blue Pummel is already in there. I have Ophidia. Okay, that's the first potential. Sigil of Solace already there. Jubil. Jubil should be here in the maybe board. Down here, I think. Yeah. Yep, Jubil's here. All right. Blue Slice and Dice. Yeah. Pursuit of Knowledge is already there. All right, we'll add both of those suggestions. Okay, guys. We'll add Eye of Ophidia to the maybe board, and we'll also add Blue Slice and Dice. So we have 101. Okay. All right. So again, for those of you in chat that want to follow along, here's the link to the deck. Stony was good. Bolton Tech. Ironsong Versus is not here. Oh crap! We gotta add that. That's definitely worthy. Ironsong Versus to the maybe. Yep. So we got 102 now, but that's okay. We got 102 maybe cards. Yep. So here we go. Pay up for Victor. That's a real silver bullet. All right. Okay, so now that we have 102 cards that could potentially see play in our deck, let's tune our main deck here and our sideboard. Let's tune this whole deck. And we're going to tune it. I'm going to ask you in chat how you want me to tune this. And I will show you how I do it. And then you can learn from that. Okay? So those of you just joining us, we had a whole discussion on why I don't think Kasai is very good. We talked about how I sideboard as Dori. We talked about every single matchup in the game and what is good into them. So I wrote this at the beginning of the stream, but I didn't actually talk much about it. So RTN versus Pro Tour. So RTN obviously is a lower level event. And you basically just need to do well enough in Swiss and then win one match in the quarterfinals. That's all you really need to do, right? Obviously, at a RTN, you can skill gap your opponents. And if you're playing Dorinthia, you're playing a deck that some people literally cannot, do not know how to deal with, right? So you're just going to win some of your games that way. So I also want to take into account what we saw in the previous week, right? So what did we see as the meta in the last week? We saw Brute, we saw Guardian, we saw Kano, we saw Dromai do pretty decently, and then we saw a little bit of splash of everything like Katsu, Dori, Dash. These are decks that we don't really have to prepare for specifically, but we just need to be. If we build a generally good deck, we'll be able to handle these, right? But Brute, Guardian, Kano, and Dromai, we already discussed how to deal with them. So Brute. So we're definitely going to have, some sync. We're going to have Hold the Line. We're going to have Balance of Justice. For Guardian, we could put Oasis in. We could put Tunic in. We could put Shunt in. We talked about up here, Commanding Performance, Agile Engagement. Yep. And Big Attack Reacts, okay? Fine, Kano. We can add Oasis. We can add Take It on the Chin. Higher Blue Count. Tunic, AB2, Third Twinning Blade, Unconditional Go Again, Jubil. The easiest here is, I think we could actually just run more E-Pots. Third Twinning. And more Go Again. AB2 should be sufficient. And then Dromai, we had a whole long ass list about things that we could put. We'll come back to this, I guess, because there's a we'll see basically. Okay. So basically these are all the tech cards that we could add. So let's start modifying our deck a bit. Okay. Pull heroes for tooting. Well, I already gave you the general RTN meta. You're likely to see more Brutes, Guardians, Kanos, and Dromais. And you're likely to see fair, regular, degular decks like Katsu, Dori, Dash. Right? Okay. I guess the main thing we need to talk about is, are we going to play Decimator Great Axe? Because if we do, that actually changes a lot here. And I think we do run it, but we don't run it into the Guardians. We just have it so we can fulfill this. So if we have Oasis, Tunic, Shunt, we won't lose to Arachne, Azuri, Riptide, and other cheesy decks like that, like Kano as well. That'll help. Okay. So let's go back here and let's start editing here. All right. So, first card we want to add is Hold the Line. Now the question is, do we add 2 or do we add 3? I think we add 2 because this is a card we don't want to draw in multiples. This is also a decent arsenal target against Brute, so I could see that. Let's add that to the inventory. We wanted the Balance of Justice. That's down here. We'll move it into the inventory. So this is going to go down from 102, I guess. And we already have the Sinks. We already have Fates, so we're good there. Oasis, Tunic, Shunt here against Guardian. So how much are we respecting Kano? Do we want 2? Do we want 3? I mean, if the numbers are real that Kano won that many RTNs, like maybe we run 3. So let's run all 3. If we're running that, that means we're running Tunic. If we're running Tunic, we might as well run Red Shunt. And if we're running Red Shunt, we would run it in. We would run all of them. Do we want to run Blue Shunt? Into this meta, I think it's okay. It would only be useful against Guardians. But it would help in some fringe matchups as well. So maybe we put 1 or 2 of them. Sorry, those should go in the deck because... So I know a lot of people put Shunt in their sideboard. Blue Shunt, I think that should be a main deck card. And yeah, just kind of build around it. Okay, so we've done this and we've done this. Okay. We already have Commanding Performance, Agile Engagement, and Big Attack Reacts in our sideboard. Oasis E-Pot. Okay, so a second E-Pot here would have definitely helped. Okay. And third Twitting, we have a third Twitty Blade, right? Okay, so we'll bring that up. More Go Again AB2. Okay, so AB2. So let's think, chat. So what AB do we want to bring against Kano? Let's see. So bolters are pretty important. Tunic's pretty important. So I think we're running gloves plus hood. Okay, so we have hood already, so we add the Nullrune gloves. Okay. Okay, and then we just have Dromai as the rest. So let's kind of adjust things here, and then we'll account for Dromai as much as we can. So currently we're at 95 cards, which is we're way over. Punctures, we have one in the main, two on the side. Because we don't bring in puncture, obviously, against like Kato and stuff like that. Oh, man. All right, guys. Oh. To deal with Dromai, we need to ban Rake. I agree. Rake is a ridiculous card, and it's very difficult to see just how much value it gets. But I know the value of Rake against certain decks is easily over 10. Like a one card 10. If against certain decks, if you see Rake within the first 3 turns, I don't think you can lose the game. Unfortunately, certain heroes just cannot deal with it. So why AB and not Spell Void against Kano? Because if Kano goes first, we would start at below 30 if we didn't have AB. Plus, we have no ability to filter without AB. All right. So, first thing I'm looking at getting rid of, or maybe streamlining, is removing Edge Ahead. I don't know if we have enough room for this. So, let's remove that. I like that card, but maybe we don't have enough room. All right, everything else here seems fine. Iron Sword Determination, this could go down to 2, just to make some room. Yellow Overpower, I've spoken several times why this is important. We'll keep it. Singing Steel Blade and Twinning Blade as a 3-2, I think is fine. Warrior's Valor, yellow. We said multiple times that we need more go-agains, and this is important. Yellow Warrior's Valor is actually very, very critical against decks with armor. This basically gets you reprise, which is important. Emboldened Blade's a fine card. I don't know if we need 2 of them. I think we could go down to 1. I think this puncture could also be removed because we're going to make room for something else. I don't think we need 3 blue overpowers, so we're going to remove 1. All right, let's add in our blues here. So, like I said, Shunt is going to be main deck. And I also think, just to make sure we have enough room, this Hold the Line should be in the main deck. And a single E-Pot should also be in the main deck. So, that means we do have, a no block in the main deck, but just 1. We can obviously add these if we need to. In fact, I might try to make this part of the main deck, actually. We have 22 blues. That's a little bit high. So let's actually trim a blue here. Maybe Precision Press. We'll trim a Precision Press and we'll move the E-Pot into the deck as well. So we have 2 E-Pots. This allows us to high roll a little bit on turn 0. Maybe actually we have too many blues. Okay, let's remove an E-Pot just for now. Because we would only want 2 E-Pots if we're really trying to high roll on turn 0. This heart might actually go as well because we added Hold the Line and Steelblade Shunt, and if we have heart as well, that makes things clunky. So we'll remove heart. This will also lower the cost of the deck by a lot. Okay, we have 21 blues. I think that's perfect. And we have 49 main cards. That sounds fine. Okay. Let's just add all the equipment up to the top so it's easier to see. Okay. So we have Dawnblade. We have our chest choice. Our boot choice. Our boots are always the same. We have AB2, and then we have the choice of helm. So we have 9 equipment cards, which I think is fine. If we really need to make room, we can get rid of one of these, although these are good in different circumstances. So maybe we try to keep them. Okay. Now we go over to this sideboard here, and we start trimming here. Okay. So with adding the Shunt and Oasis, we no longer really need this many Fate Foreseens. So we can take that out. I think we might be able to go down all three. The question is, are we running Tunic or not? That's really... Oh, boy. You know what? We... yeah. I don't think Crowd of Providence is better than Balance of Justice in this meta. The only reason you would ever run Crowd is because CNC pummel. I guess the other benefit is that you could like filter things that you draw with Supremacy, but I think if we look at our matchups that we have to, like, it's good against Dromai and Brute, and Dromai plus Brute should be greater than Guardian. So maybe we do remove Crowd. And I'm going to remove Tunic. We really need slots. So I'm going to remove Tunic, which means I'm going to remove the Shunts. But I'm not going to remove the Oasis, because if we have to pay for Oasis, that's fine. And yep, so we have 9 defensive cards, I think is good enough. Okay, we're at 81. We have a third Twinning Blade. We have a Chorus. So I'm going to change these Command and Conquers and this Nourishing to 3 red Fendal's Fighting Spirit. Mainly because we would only bring them in against Illusionist, and we might as well gain a life a portion of the time. We're not really playing CNC as Dori. I know a lot of people like to do that, but I don't think that's the right way to approach it. So we could go 3 Fendal's Fighting Spirit and a Remembrance, or you could go 3 Fendal's Fighting Spirit and a Down and Dirty. Let's try the Remembrance. That's an old school card. We might need more help against Dromai. That's basically what I'm saying here. Okay, this deck list looks very close to done. Ironsock Pride, I might take this out just to make some more room. I think we're at 80 now. Yeah, we're at exactly 80. Okay. So, I've been rambling and doing that really quickly, but I hope you guys were able to follow along. So, I have now tuned the deck to be good against the meta, right? So if I was going to RTN week 2, I'd probably bring something like this, okay? So we have in our sideboard things that help us against Guardians, things that help us against Brutes and Guardians, things that are good against Dromai. We have extra attack reacts to punch through against D-reacts. And we have Oasis against Kato. So lots of different things here. We're going to be running Grains in all matchups, no Tunic. So this actually lowered the cost of the deck quite a bit. And I think this is actually optimal as well, which is nice. We've made our energy base slightly more clunky, but now it's actually got more defensive tools in it. So as long as we don't draw them in multiples, we're actually okay. The issue, this is something I have to math out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards that are kind of awkward if we draw them in multiples, right? So we might actually need this to be 4. We'll see. Okay. All right. Oh, let's catch up on chat here. No Dynamos for Dromai. I think Bolters are a little bit too important. Sometimes you don't have Go Again and you need it. I think Dynamos are also fine against Dromai. Why? We already answered that question. Is cut the deck good or not? It is not good. If you really want to play that card, you should be playing Stroke of Foresight. Why Epot? Epot helps us against Kano, and having one allows us to bluff overpower much easier. Second Goblet. We already have 2 goblets. I like 22 blues if it's Dawnblade and Siding. Oh, I forgot to add the Decimator Great Axe. Oops. This one card insulates us against 3 or 4 matchups. But now we have 81 cards. So we're going to have to get a cut here somewhere. CNC is everywhere. I think Crown is the call. Fedal's Fighting Spirit is good against Herald of Triumph. Exactly. That's the main reason to run Red Fedal's Fighting Spirit. Yep. Yeah, Sync Fate with grades is the way now, in my opinion. Yeah, Sync Fate and just having the extra armor and grades just allows you to get in there. Take it on the chin instead of Oasis, so I never pay resources for defensive quests. Oh. So that's actually an interesting point. Does take it on the chin, is that good enough against Kano? I don't know. I don't know. That's actually a very good question. Do we need Prevent 4? Or is Prevent 2 enough? No Pride, it's insane into Victor and KO? You mean Ironsong Pride? We currently have just don't have slots. That's yeah. Not a fan of Commanding Performance. This is one of the hardest cards for me to evaluate, to be honest. Really, really, really difficult. It goes around the Iron Will trigger. Okay, so that's what happens when they're blocking exact C's around singing. Two routes is not good for Victor. Mm-hmm. Victor isn't a defensive deck. That's correct. Victor's not a defensive deck. Victor's actually fairly aggressive. That's why you want to play Sync and Fate against him instead of Shunt. I think you cut the yellow Dori one of in the side. Chorus of Ironsong, I feel like let me think. Now it's really important against KO. Having that could just win you the game against KO. No, take it on the chin is not good enough. 2 isn't enough. Okay. So then we just have to stick with the Oasis. Sometimes we'll have like Vigor tokens to pay on the Kano's turn, so KO does a lot of damage. 4 is better. Okay. If you have enough resources for AB to take it on the chin, can stack in on top of it to prevent most or all of the key cards like Blazing. You have to stop 6 damage Wildfire. Yes. That is, they will Crucible Wildfire. Sometimes they have Metacarpus nodes as well. In my opinion, Commanding Performance is only really good on a huge tempo turn, late game. That's the keyword, late game. This card is not good early game. Great to be able to put the opponent in an awkward spot in that late game, but otherwise it's only meh. That is a very good analysis, Brad. And maybe we don't have enough slots for this. Maybe we do have to remove this. We already have a lot of tools dedicated to Bravo. And that's the only matchup that we would really bring it in. That's like one of the major matchups. So maybe we switch the commanding performances for more Drum I Hate. It also blows out Prism with Chorus, yes. Okay, let's switch these for some more Prism Hate. We also added Great X, so we need to make some room. All right. Let's add Down and Dirty. Okay, so now we're at 80 again. So now we have 3 Fendel's Fighting Spirit and a Down and Dirty and a Remembrance as anti-Dromai cards. CNC. My preferred playstyle against Azalea is to run no attack actions into them, because it negates Codex. All right, 49. Can we get to 51 in all matchups? I think we can. Okay. All right, chat. Is there any sideboard cards that we really want to use? Here's the list. Commanding performance is very good into Victor. I wouldn't cut it. Man, I've been a warrior main most of my time playing Fab, but having the legendary Josh Lau agreeing with a bunch of stuff I'm saying feels pretty good. If you've played warrior long enough, you have that intuition, and you've gotten yourself into a lot of different situations, and you get a feel for what feels right and what feels wrong. And that's how we can construct this giant ass maybe board. Is I've tried all these cards. I've tried all these cards and more. I know what works and what doesn't work. And Brad, if you're an experienced warrior, and it sounds like you are an experienced warrior, you also have a lot of that intuition as well. I think it is time to play. I agree. And test it out. I also agree. I'm not convinced this can beat Kano. We need to test. AB2 3 Oasis is fine for Kano. I think AB2 3 Oasis should be fine for Kano. I guess we'll find out. All right. Let us go play some games. All right. I'm going to copy the list for you guys in chat so you guys can follow. So you guys have access to that. And we'll click this. All right. Hey, it doesn't let me give my game name anymore. Oh, I have to join Patreon to give my. Okay, maybe I'll have to do that. Okay, so I have the deck. Yep. Okay. Single player. Nah, no single player. All right. Okay. All right, my headset has fallen asleep. Let's see here. Okay. All right, Azalea. Generally, I like to go second, as risky as that sounds. Basically, for them to get dominate on turn 0, they have to do something kind of risky. All right. We'll go like this. Against Azalea, we'll bring in some D-Reacts. Do we want Oasis, even though we don't have Tunic? That's a good question. Agile engagement, I think, is going to be good enough here. What do you guys think? Do we run Oasis with no tunic against Azalea? I think we have to, right? And I'm gonna run one agile, one overpower, so we have a 2 to target. Okay, let's go. Do you think Vambrace will be good someday? Yes, that was very important against Oldham. Very, very long time ago, but yeah, it still has its uses. Okay. That's really unfortunate that he had this in his opening hand. But very fortunate we have this. Drill shot, Azalea dominate, sure. Yep. So of note, he has Crow's Nest and Death Dealer. Pre-med into this giant ass arrow. Okay, shows this is 8, right? 7. 7 dominate. Okay. All right, so are we keeping Supremacy or are we keeping Valor? Good question. I think we're keeping Valor. So we're going to pitch the Supremacy to the bottom, I think. He has no armor, so it's close. Supremacy is much better on a large hand, and I don't think I could keep a large hand against Azalea, so that's why I'm going to... oh, he has Raid Razors. Jeez, okay. Sure. All right, so one of my stuff is going to start busted up, but that's fine. I also could... No, I can't sync for a second Oasis. We don't have the resources for it. Oh, no, that's not it. That's wrong, sorry. Sorry. I was trying to play Oasis. Not this one. Play this. Target this. Pitch this. There we go. Okay, we did it. Okay. All right, so we're going to take a damage. I guess I should have taken a little bit longer to think about that. But that's all right. Okay. This hand is really good, guys. And if we had kept Supremacy, this hand would have been acceptable, but not amazing. All right, let's go Valor. Pitching the blue. And we're going to swing Dawnblade at the Azalea. Nice Oasis turn 0. Yeah, sometimes you get lucky, man. Horse might be better now that everybody's running Oasis for Kano. That is true. All right, no blocks. Interesting. So if we Grains, we go down to 0, and then we can Bracer Swing and come in for a break point. So you'd have to give us 2 cards. So I like that. We could Arsenal Singing. Very likely he doesn't block this. Just so you guys know, I don't play Warrior. I'm just here because the stream is good. Oh, well, thank you. What a good hand. Yeah. Rain Razors on a premeditate plus knock. That is way up there. Yep, as I suspected, no blocks from him. That's fine with me. All right, so we're going to get to Arsenal, Singing Steel Blade, and move on. All right, this hand's real good thanks to this Vigor token. So we're almost certainly blocking with our boots this turn. But not on this. So we have such a strong hand. Supremacy Swing, backed up by 2 reactions. And we have an extra resource for this as well if we need to grab Glint. That's real good. All right. So against vanilla damage, obviously, we just take this. All right. Blue Bolt and Shot in the arsenal here. Rabble revealed Glide on the top of the deck. So it's not an arrow on the top. So he played Knock, Resolving Knock, Battering Bolt. And he's going to send Battering Bolt for 9. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, we have to give him a card here. Dominate here, but that's fine. If we give him the... Let's see. Let's do some math here. 2 plus this is 6. Blade Flurry takes it to 8. This takes it to 9. This will take it to 9 or 10. So I think if he blocks, it's going to be for 3 cards. Is he more likely to block 9 or 10? That is the question. Oh, we don't even have enough. Oh, we do. We barely have enough armor to cover this up. Ooh. All right. Let's go like this, and we'll see if we get punished here. Okay. A nice thing about that turn is that also hides the fact that we need our bolters. He doesn't know. Because it's obvious that we were just going to throw our armor in front of it, so. All right. Swing for 6 here. And if he blocks for 8, he's in a lot of trouble. And I think he's more likely to block for 8 than for 9 here. I don't think he wants to give me his Tunic here. A lot of Azalea's deck just doesn't block very well. So Supremacy to Responsible Blade Flurry. Yeah, I wish I could. All right. Gonna full block this. Interesting. So we could still get over this with singing into response. In fact, singing into Blade Flurry is more damage. So let's do that. Okay. So this is more damage. Let's see here. If we grab this, we don't have any more Iron Song responses left in our deck. But I think that's fine. So let's grab this. We'll play this. We'll play this. We'll break boots. And now he has to throw his whole hand down again. This is a bad draw. That's a very bad draw. That draw is so bad. I mean, I have to. I Blade Flurried and Steel Bladed, so we have to. We can't create Vigor, unfortunately. We can't do any of this because we drew this, unfortunately. But that's okay. Okay, ordering the draw first. Do we want this in our arsenal, or do we want a Vigor token? I think we want the go again, so we're not going to pay here. These drawing Fate Foreseen and Precision Press was really bad. But that's okay. That is A-okay here. We got a route. We're good. Okay. So we can go precision press swing. And he basically has to throw his whole hand down, and we can route it. As long as he doesn't have 11 block, we should be good. Okay, we have exactly enough resources to do this, and we can arsenal the sink below here. Okay, this guy had 12 blocks, so he's good. All right, so we're gonna arsenal a card. I think we arsenal the sink here because we can go to 8 and bring him down to 9, so that's not enough. That's fine. If he throws his whole hand down like this, even one more time, he's in danger of getting fatigued. All right. We got Valor with Overpower Yellow. That seems pretty good. Blade Flurry for sure. You know you can get the full value. Well, I wanted to keep a Blade Flurry in the deck, and Iron Song Response. We only have 2 of, but he doesn't know that. No blocks. Interesting. So, okay, I can use my whole hand to make 2 vigors and pump this. I think that's worth it. Okay. The other option is just to swing and then route. But then I have no vigor tokens, and I want vigor tokens. So let's pay for this. We'll get a vigor. We'll bracer, pitch this, swing, and we're still pretending that we have one. He doesn't block. That's fine. We'll make another vigor. We'll pitch the route. Okay, we have double vigor here, and we're set up for the next turn. Okay. This hand is very awkward. But this is the danger of Azalea. Azalea's trying to have a big turn, and I just so happen to be ready. I mean, this is going to deal no damage, basically. Sure. Seek and Destroy. Sure. Bolt and Shot. So 10. Maybe it's even 12. This doesn't have Dominate. So we have 12 here. So we can just we could say no blocks and just I mean, do we even cover up 12? I think we don't give him a free reload, right? Because he still snaps. Wait, sorry. Sorry. I needed to play the shunt from hand. Oh, it's a... Sorry. I play this now. Okay, so shunt. Pitching the E-Pot. Okay, resolve. Do we sync the Supremacy? I think we do, right? Yeah, let's sync the Supremacy. Okay. That's fine, because we have Vigor tokens. And then we Oasis this so he doesn't get the reload. Might not have been worth it because the Seek and Destroy wasn't going to do anything anyways. But okay, there's nothing there. All right, we can basically demand that he gives us his tunic here. So the reason I played the Sharpened Steel there, even though this is all face up, is it's possibly his 2 blocks and he has to give me multiple cards. Okay, so he is playing some D-Reacts. Fate Foreseen is pretty much the only one that you would generally see in Azalea. He bottomed it. Okay, sure. Okay, Lace with Inertia, Bolt and Shot. Okay, no float. So at worst, this is like a 0-cost arrow. We've already seen it. Endless. Could be a Bolt and Shot. Could be, could be a Rabble or something. Let's see. This hand is a setup hand, I think. So I think we block with 2 cards here and set Singing into Arsenal. Sure, you want to Rain Razors that? Be my guest. So with the Inertia token, this is a little awkward. I can swing naked. I could swing with the hit and run active. I think let's give him the opportunity to make a mistake. If he blocks for 3, then he gets blown out. Yeah, it could have been Codex there. We can pave just for an extra damage here. Might as well. Unless he has Fate. Right, I think we'll just pay for just 1 extra damage here. And then we'll get a Grains. Ah, unfortunate. That's okay. Okay, so we'll... How many Twinning Blades? We still have a bunch in our deck, so we can block with Twinning Blade and then pitch Sharpened Steel to Oasis. And we could swing with the Dawn Blade. See if we can set up a Grains. Or we could Arsenal the Glint. Also fine. Are you going to Rain Razors this? I'm not sure if I'm supposed to swing with Glint here or set this into Arsenal. I think setting it into Arsenal might be slightly better. This does open me up to getting kind of blown out, though, so... We'll see. So this is bad because this would rip all my attack reactions here. Unfortunately, this is going to hit. That's really sucks. That really sucks. That's actually something we didn't consider during our deck build, is if we have so many attack reactions, we're actually soft to this. All right. Unfortunately, this is going to hit. That's fine. He was 3 cards inefficient here. We had a very, very good start, and these last like 4 turns have been kind of clunky. All right, this hand is pretty good. I'm still worried about this here because this is a lot of burst damage if he can light it up. He hasn't pitched yet, so we don't know if he has a pitch problem or not. He's getting kind of low on cards as well. We could just fatigue him from here. This hand gets blown out by a Fate Foreseen, so I'm incentivized to block. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Maybe block these two. If I had enough pump to get over Fate Foreseen, I would have kept this hand, but oh, Rain Razors, okay. Sure. Well, that's when we can use this now. Is that his 3rd Rain Razors? Yeah, 3rd Rain Razors now. He's in trouble. I don't think his deck has enough damage to win. You'd let him have this one? I don't want to take the risk of running into Fate Foreseen. Sure. He's used all his knocks, right? Yeah. He has no knocks, no Rain Razors left. Life is going to be kind of difficult for him. We're basically waiting for Azalea to have an Azalea turn. Okay, 5 go again. And, you know, this isn't that bad here. So we'll take the 5, obviously. Okay, so we could double Fate this. Could go here and here. But then we're relying on our glint so heavily, and we're relying on him not blocking. So I think we're just going to double Fate here. Set up our draw for glint here. Did we ever have a chance to use this? I don't think he's ever drawn 2 cards, right? Okay, he snapped this. That's great. Okay, we'll resolve this. Do we want to draw this with glint? It's not the worst. Because if glint is online, that means this is online. Which means this becomes red overpower, right? Because we have it still in our... We still have red overpower in our list, yeah. So we'll top the blue. Okay. No blocks. Really? Okay. So this is where having only 2 red Iron Song responses is going to get us in trouble here. Because we don't have a way to play this for a +3 pump. Alright, if he has Fate Foreseen, we're very sad. But he does not. Do we want to make a Vigor? I think we're supposed to Bracer here. Just get his Tunic right here. This is also pretending that we have a +3 pump. You're the most defensive warrior player to ever touch the game. That's why I've gotten old. Beware of old men in professions where they tend to die young, right? All right, we're going to put singing into the arsenal. We took his tunic, so now a lot of plays are not available to him. And this hand ends the game. All right, no matter what he does here, unless it's like Sleep Dart, I think we're just going to keep our hand and kill him. Okay, Codex is annoying. Very annoying. Okay, well, I guess we're just going to block and poke him with Dawnblade. The other option is block a little bit and overpower. But, so if he blocks 2, he'll die. If he blocks 3, he'll die. If he doesn't block, he'll die. But he could still have Fate Foreseen, so... We're definitely blocking with that. I think we just swing Dawnblade and... yeah. I think this kills him. Oh, there's a frailty token. I forgot about this. Oh, that's going to mess up the map by 1. This Dawnblade's only coming in for 1. Whoops. Well. Let's hope he doesn't have Fate Foreseen, guys. Because this could get very ugly if he does. In fact, he's very... okay, guess he doesn't have it. I might have been playing around something he didn't have. Did I see him pitch this? I guess not. I guess he shuffled his deck. I don't know why this is so deep down in his deck. Okay, well. Perfect. Apparently. I expected him to block with this. That's why I was 1 damage off. Also, if he had Fate Foreseen in his hand, this game gets very, very ugly. This build without Shunt and Tunic is not good for running Decimate against Azalea. Correct. Yep. Okay. Sure. I guess we'll take that. All right. For those of you just joining us, this is the list we've been running. We've tuned this list. Yep. Might have opted it to the bottom from another Fate. Yeah, that might have happened. Yeah, there's a lot of weird things that I'm not exactly sure why his Fate Foreseen was so deep in the deck. I was very concerned about that. I do react. Ooh, nice nice pointer there. If you let it hit, you could pop balance at end of phase. The ponder triggers, and I can respond in between the ponder and end step. I thought ponder is the beginning of end step. Something happens and I don't get priority. All right, let's play on Talishar again and create a game. We got a Phi. All right. Against Phi, we want to go second in general. Against Phi, we can run our traditional stuff here. And what's good against Phi? They have some armor, so this is nice. Agile engagement is also nice. Access to tutoring overpower is nice to have. Iron Song response unlocks certain hands. Twinning Blade is good after they give us counters. And I think we might just go up another overpower and some sync blows just to round things out here. Yep. Nice and clean 60 here. We could go Fate and Sync, yeah. All right. Big fridge from our opponent, sort of. Tide Flippers blocks 1, right? Or is it 0 or 1? I forgot. I can't see. A 0. 0, 0, 0. Okay. All right. Spreading Flames. That's a good card. Okay. So we're going to lose most of our hand here. This is obviously the lowest priority card, so we'll block with it. All right. We're going to try to use Balance of Justice relatively early because Phi has Art of War. Rising Resentment. Going to get a buff from Spreading Flames. So it's going to be 2 into this, into Flame, into Arsenal this. So this, and so we basically could keep a card for the cost of 1 health. Actually, this final attack might be coming in for more because of Shuko. I think it's coming in for 3. Phoenix Flame. This also could be E-Strike bottom it. Yep. All right. You got my whole hand, sir. Snatch or Arsenal? Are you going to play out your card in your hand? Going to play it out. Okay. Okay, this hand has no go again. Okay, I'm going to pitch the singing here. Reason being, he might try to deny reprise with the armor, and then I can at least glint twinning and attack again. So very, very, very unlikely for Singing Steelblade to get reprise this turn. I expect no block here. I expect no block, or I expect an armor block. No block. Okay. So we'll glint this, and at least we'll get some grains out of this, basically. Sink below in arsenal. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, we'll still twinning here so we can attack again. But this is not a good start. Okay, so this is a 5 deck that's running Command and Conquer and Sink and Spreading Flames, which is interesting. Okay, this hand is average. We kind of just want to throw the Spoils of War and swing. We might even block with everything here. We don't need this blue, so we will block with it. Rabble revealing Yellow Lava Vein Loyalty. That is a card I haven't seen in a long time. Okay, so this is Draconic. Therefore, well, I think this is the end of his turn. But technically this is Draconic, right? So alright, we'll Spoils of War swing. And because we have our Sink in Arsenal, he has to kind of respect this. Part of me wonders if Fade is better than Sink against Fi. I think you just have to have smooth hands, and Sink below can smooth out a hand. So I think in general you play Sink below for Fate Foreseen, but certain decks definitely would prefer it the other way around, like Azalea. No blocks from him. Okay. Well, looks like we might get to use our Balance of Justice next turn. Just waiting on him. Armor or a card? I think he's likely to give armor here, because this is representing Iron Storm response here. Okay, brave. Okay, this hand is bad, and this is why we have Sink. And this is the perfect card to meet with Sink below, Mounting Anger red. All right, we don't want Blade Flurry, or we don't want Overpower in this hand, sorry. So we will Sink the Overpower. See if we can find a blue. We did not. That's all right. We'll just block this turn. All right, so what is the most important card here? So because he has 4 armor, and he showed he has sync, so that's a tough choice. Which of these cards is most important? I mean, it's got to be a pump, right? In general, I think it's Blade Flurry, but this one's not easy, guys. What would you guys have arsenaled here? We got Spoils, Blade Flurry, Agile Engagement, Puncture here. We're going to basically block down to 1 card here. Oh, he passed. What? Okay, so this is a D-React most likely. Okay, so I think we pitched a Puncture here. Because there's a chance he blocks with an attack action. We could get an Agile Engagement here. If he doesn't block, we can Blade Flurry and Arsenal the Agile. Okay, so he did block with an attack action, so we can Agile Engagement here. Get ourselves a agility token. The issue is that that's like 3 or 4 pumps in a row there. So our next hand is not likely to have a pump. So, but that's okay. Reinforce the line. Okay, so we have a pretty defensive file list here. So we gotta play this one out, you know, nice and carefully here. So this 5 is probably on 60 rex here. Okay, this hand quite good. Okay, we don't care about 1 damage here. Yeah. So I think we're just gonna keep these 3 arsenal spoils. We're gonna try to keep this hand. All right, guys, I had to restart the stream. Sorry about that. There's a... I don't know what's wrong with my internet. But you made it just in time. 5 played Art of War. So, big turn alert. Big turn alert. I'm so frustrated at my internet, but it is what it is. Okay, Art of War into Ronin Renegade. The hand is good. In fact, the hand here works without the overpower here. So we can actually block for 4 here and prepare to use the Balance of Justice. Sorry about the lag, guys. I I've just been trying to restart OBS. I haven't restarted my router, and that's what may need to happen. We'll see. Every single time at 9 o'clock, not every single time, but at 9 o'clock, things get wonky. Oh boy. I think we just let this hit. Oh my god. Holy shit. This hand is nuts. Yeah, this hand is so nuts here because we can actually go over or around, which is so deadly. Oh boy. Do we block here? I think we wait for something more threatening. Mm-hmm. Do we need the overpower is the question. Might just be a dead card here, so... So if I don't block here, he's going to Tide Flipper, Mask, and attack again with Assault the Wound. But this hand is just... I think it's just too good to pass up. Yeah. We'll do the interesting thing and just block here. And we'll try to get a triple hit off. Alright, welcome back, guys. Hopefully the stream is not as laggy as it used to be. I've been trying to play around with the bit rate a little bit, trying to get, balance, but, Tenacity! Oh, I forgot this card existed. Nice turn from him. Now it's my turn. I think he's likely to block here. Okay, or not. Okay. Fine by me. Okay, we'll pitch the route and attack. And we can do these plus bolters. All right, are you guys there? I haven't seen any chat movement. Let me refresh this here. It says there's 87 of you watching right now. Sorry about the lag. I've been it looks like it's okay. Looks like it's okay. So basically he had a really big Art of War turn there. Salt the Wound into Tenacity to finish things off. Did a bunch of damage to us, but we struck back with a triple hit turn. And you know, we're kind of just going to the end game here. Both of us pretty low on armor, so you had it in full screen while sorting cards. Oh, okay. What type of cards are you sorting? Almost 3 a.m. in Brazil. You're tired. I'm getting tired too. All right. Okay, so let's draw first. And if okay, that's a perfect arsenal card. We'll arsenal that. We won't grains. So now actually we have we can actually block with our whole hand next turn if we wanted to. Who needs to block? Not that guy. He was planning on just taking everything until it's like, oh, there's a third hit coming? Uh-oh. All right. The order does not matter because we're never getting there. All right. This hand, pretty Gucci. Of course, we can just block and send 5 at him. Which may be enough, actually. I kind of like blocking with 1, 2, and 4 here. All right, let's hope this is like a 4 power attack so we can get good value from our sink. Rising Resentment here. Okay, that's fine. We'll still throw the Singing Steelblade there. This Vigor token coming in huge here. It's going to allow us to swing the Zomblade. And Ember Blade. So we haven't seen a snatch from him. He may not be playing it. This could be a D-React. It could just be searing Emberblade into Phoenix Flame here. So I think we just sink here, no sink. We play sink and don't sink anything. Had a 1600 count box of generics to burn down to bulk, not bulk. Okay. Can safely ignore this sword. Yes, we could have. We probably should have, just in case this is a snatch. In fact, yeah, that was a little bit of a unoptimal play here. Yep. So we actually like missed off a point of damage. All right, Sharpened Steel swing here. And he basically has to throw his whole hand to get me off a counter here. Iron Song response in the arsenal. MVP here. Grains of Blood Spill. MVP. Mind blown by the damage. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Gotta block 8 out of 8. That is the wrong choice, sir. Good game. Well, we dealt 5 and then 11 and then 22 and then 3. Yep, 22 damage Dori turn. Pretty good. Things can get very crazy when you have Supremacy in 3 hits. All right. Do we have a Kano in chat that would like to play against me? This is your siren call, Justin. Calling all Kanos. Any Kanos want to play against me? If you are a Kano and you want to play against me, you can create a game and I will join it. Dromai game is also fine, but I think the stream wants to see a Kano game. Dromai games for Dori are very, very boring. It's not much to. There's not too much to learn, to be honest. Looks like the internet is. Oh no, it's dropping frames again. All right, you know what? You know what? The internet is just not cooperating with us today. Okay, I think we might just have to end this stream a little early. The lag is just crazy tonight. The last couple streams we didn't really have this issue, but I don't know. Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's recap what we did today. We talked about the state of warriors. We talked about why I thought Kasai has issues. I guess let's transition back to this. Okay. I talked about why I thought Kasai had issues, has some bad matchups. I went into the matchups, why they're bad. I talked about how the deck is very linear and very predictable, which is very bad against high level players. The deck has no ability to outplay or high roll. It is very consistent, but it's consistently average. And there's not enough attack reactions in the deck. And that's kind of related to number 3. So we spent about, 45 minutes talking about why I thought Dori and Boltyn were better. We talked about how to sideboard as Dori. So we talked about, these factors here. Then we went in and listed out every single hero in the whole game. And we wrote down what is good against which heroes. Okay. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but this will get you started. Okay. Then we added every single card in the game that I thought was remotely playable in Dorinthia. And we built the deck. And then we... Yeah. And then I talked about how if this is the meta that we're going into, a Brute, a Guardian, Kano, and Dromai heavy meta with a splash of like fair balanced decks like Katsu, Dori, Dash. These are the type of things we want to modify on our deck. And that was this. So I will post this in chat for you guys. Okay. So that's a deck list for you guys in chat. This is roughly what I would run if I think the meta is Brute, Guardian, Dromai, and Kano. This list is a modification of the list that's on Patreon with the sideboard guide and everything. So what did we do in the sideboard here? We added a couple of Fendel's Fighting Spirits, Remembrance. We added some Oasis, and we trimmed around the edges a little bit to make room for cards like Hold the Line and Steelblade Shunt. Both of these performed pretty well in the games. We saw Hold the Line and Steelblade Shunt kind of making an impact against Azalea in the first game. And then, Oasis, even though we had to pay for Oasis, was not the worst. This basically turns it turns 2 cards into 2 blocks, but can get around some annoying situations, so it's not too bad. Yep. Okay. All right, guys. We'll kind of wind things down here because OBS is saying I'm dropping a lot of frames. So, all right. Maybe board 94. Yeah, there's a lot of maybes. And that'll be good for you guys to check out later. All the cards that I thought was remotely playable. So, Joe, I kept you from being bored at work. Well, glad to hear that. I hope you have a great evening. All right, are we playing Credit Providence or Balance and Dori nowadays? If the meta is heavier towards Dromai and Brute, I would run the Balance of Justice. They're both fine. Don't feel like you have to get both. It's a meta dependent call, and right now there's just not enough slots to run both. So, I just ran with Balance of Justice. So, all right. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Thanks for joining me. Yeah. If you guys want, you guys can come back here tomorrow night. Nathan will be streaming. I think he'll probably talk about his RTN experience and stuff like that. So that should be good.